Hello lovely people! Last week we had a look at the lovely and black Alpine status drivers, and this week we're gonna be unboxing Alpine DP-653 three-way component set. This component set is specifically designed for Asian markets. You cannot get them anywhere in the UK or in America, so I am proud to say that this set is the only one that is in the UK. What is it so special and how is it different from Alpine Status and all the other ones? Let's have a look at the box. There's nothing really special on the box apart from loads of signage in Chinese that you cannot read, and that's exactly what I mean by saying that is designed for Asian markets. They were released like a couple of years ago, so these came out before the Alpine Status and before the Alpine Type R. However, by looking at them, I find a lot of similarities between these and the new Alpine Type Rs that were introduced very recently. So it might be that this was kind of a pre-R version drivers, and the R version was derived with the help of these. So let's open the box, let's have a look at what's inside. If you remember, the Alpine Status box was black with black styrofoam. This is white, but the packaging is exactly the same. And under the box, right in there, you have grills. So let me very quickly unbox everything. So these are the drivers, and as you can see, they look just gorgeous. We're gonna go through all of them. What comes in the box? In the box you have a little tool that is used to remove the tweeter. I'm gonna show you later about this. And screws. So if you remember when I was doing the unboxes for the Alpine Status, I showed you the screws that are in the Alpine Status box, and they were just regular posi screws. Now have a look at these. These are hex screws, and they look much nicer compared to the Alpine Status. I wish they would include these with the Status drivers. Look how nice they look. They look spot on. So these screws, I think they should be in the Alpine Status drivers, not in these, because price-wise, Alpine Status, as I mentioned, costs about £1,000. These drivers are much cheaper. I cannot get a correct price just because, again, as I mentioned, they're unavailable anywhere else apart from Asian market. But doing some currency conversions, I estimate that they will cost less than half of the Alpine Status, so around like £300, £400, something on that range. On the box, it's written that they 50 watts RMS. So the Status ones, they can handle 100 watts. These are 50 watts, so they have reduced power handling. If you notice, that's all what comes in the box. Only these grills for the mid-range and nothing for the mid-bass. So mid-bass grills are supposed to be bought separately, and the passive crossovers. So I do have the passive crossovers here. Let's have a look at them. So these passives are quite a bit smaller, as you can see, nothing like the Alpine Status. And again, they are sold separately. They do not come in the box. So when you add another set of grills for the mid-bass and crossovers, the price is gonna be increased. However, only the drivers are come in the box. Now the grills, something that's worth mentioning is the grills are honeycomb like this, yeah? They're not very little mesh, they're honeycombed, and these grills, for me personally, look much better than the Status. Exactly the same you have on the tweeter. For me personally, these grills look much better than the very small mesh that comes with the Status. Now let's have a look at the drivers themselves. The mid-bass driver, as I mentioned, it's rated 50 watts RMS. The back looks exactly the same as the Status. Oh, they're very heavy, like this. So the back looks exactly the same like the Status, It's just a different writing. And one thing that you can notice probably straight away is the size of the motor, of the magnet. You can see the DP series has a smaller motor compared to the Status, and hence the power handling is small as well. However, they look very, very similar. The brushed, I think is brushed aluminum. This back is exactly the same, the writing is the same. You have the same terminals and the same size basket. The main difference, as you can see, this one, the DP series, it has polished aluminum. It has some small like ridges, so it's not really polished. I don't know how it's called, and it has a different surround. So this one has the hammer surround that came out, I believe, with the first gen Alpine Type X speakers, and a lot of subwoofers have this hammer surround. So it is slightly different. It's kind of ridges on ridges, and the cone material is very similar to the Status. It's again carbon fiber, some kind of a mix, and it's woven. And if you can see, it's blue. It has a blue tint to it. It's blue. You can tell straight away that these speakers were designed to look good, because you have them like this from the front, blue and silver. They designed to look good. Now, I don't want to say that they're gonna sound like crap. Well, we're gonna see that. We're gonna do all the measurements exactly the same like I'm gonna do for the Status. I'm gonna do the measurements for this. Now, these have a phase plug as well. However, this phase plug, it's incorporated into the cone, so it's not separate. You can see it's not separate from the cone like the Alpine Status. Show you again. Alpine Status is separate from the cone. This comes attached to the motor. However, this one comes together with a cone. So in theory, again, these will have bigger cone compared to the Alpine Status. Now, one thing I would like to show you, but I don't know how. This cone, you can see that, yeah, let's come close. You can see the white dots. So these white dots is basically translucent, because this carbon fiber is woven and it has small tiny gaps. Now, it doesn't let the air through because this is bonded with some kind of resin, I would assume. That is just, it's clear resin. It doesn't have any tint, so it wouldn't tint the blue carbon fiber. As you can see, it shows through like little white dots, but in reality, it's just clear resin. It's not holes. Yeah, the cone is not full of holes. It just looks like that. So if you put it like in front of a very bright light, you can see that it looks like it has holes, but in reality it doesn't have holes. So this is the mid-bass driver, 6.5 inch, 50 watts RMS. Now the mid-range looks exactly the same, with blue cone, with face plug that is attached to the cone itself, and this silver metal front, and it looks, to be honest, amazing. For me personally, I don't know if these speakers would have the surround that it's on the Status, these would look killer. Back, exactly the same, and very, very similar to the Status. They look extremely, extremely similar. Now, the differences are, the Status has a neodymium motor, and this one has a ferrite motor. So even if you compare them in the hand, you can feel that these are a bit heavier. And one thing that is a tiny bit concerning for me is the airflow. So for the Status, you can see it still has quite a bit space for the voice coil to cool down, yeah? However, for these, it's only this. Let me just pull these so you can see on a white background. It's only this, and that's it. There's no more cooling happening anywhere, because there's no venting pole on the back plate. There's no gaps here, at least I cannot feel any gaps, and pretty much this is it. So these drivers, you can see, with a big motor, I don't really know. I don't think, like, if you put them in small pods that have like in sealed small pods, it doesn't really matter because there's no airspace in the pods anyway. But if you mount them in A-pillars, you have to be extremely careful to leave space like here, because like if you put it like this, it's pretty much it. You literally have 4 millimeters of space on these gaps and nothing else. So I don't know. I would be very careful mounting them in A-pillars. Like if you mount them in the dash and you have a very small baffle, even a small baffle, you can see it covers a lot of this. So the airflow on these is not that great. So I don't know, unless you cross them very, very high. Now for these, for all of these drivers, I couldn't get any TS parameters from anywhere. Alpine customer support is a bit, I don't want to say any bad words, but pretty crappy. I've sent like 10 emails to different distributors of Alpine, and I got a reply only from Alpine USA, which they said, sorry, we don't sell these, inquire somewhere else. And I got a reply from Germany that they sent me the Alpine status TS parameters, but couldn't give me anything about these. So for these, I have absolutely no TS parameters. However, I will be measuring these in the upcoming next videos. We will be measuring all the TS parameters and all the other stuff. I don't know what's the FS, if the FS is very high, but it doesn't look like, because these don't look to be very stiff. I think the status are a bit stiffer than these, but they look amazing. But I don't have any parameters for them. Now the tweeters. The tweeters are normal 1-inch aluminum magnesium alloy. So basically they're metal dome tweeters. Compared to the status, which was ring radiators, and again, I'm gonna do a comparison between dome and ring radiator, is gonna be an upcoming video. But for now, all you need to know is it's much smaller. And what's interesting about these, but this little tool and these tweeters are screwed into this housing, so you can remove them, similar to the new Alpine Type R and the other status model that has the smaller tweeters. You basically, this goes into the grill and you twist it. Okay, so after a bit of struggle, I realized that I'm turning it the other way that it's supposed to be turning. There we go. And just like that, it comes off. So this, if you want to mount them in like OEM location, somewhere it needs very tight space, this is just perfect. You remove them and you have only like the motor assembly and this. So extremely tiny, extremely small. You can mount them literally anywhere, in sail panels, under the factory grills and everywhere. So it's perfect for like OEM integration. And this grill, as I mentioned, is just awesome. I would love all the drivers to have these honeycomb grills. They look very, very nice. And the passive crossovers. So the passive crossovers, they're not very special. The only thing they have is attenuation for the tweeter. It says 0 dB, minus 3 dB, minus 6 dB. So the only thing is that you have 0 dB. The signal goes only through the capacitor, which is this one. So this is like a polycap. It's not electrolyte, it's a polycap. And then if you do minus 3 dB, it goes through 3 ohm resistor, this one. If you put it minus 6 dB, it goes through the 8 ohm resistor. And there's nothing really special. Air core inductor, I believe this is for the mid-range section. Iron core inductor for the mid-bass driver. And that's pretty much it. Again, this PTC is the protection, thermal protection for the tweeter circuit. And I will be talking about passive crossovers in the upcoming video. I'm going to do proper diagram and we're going to measure everything and everything else. But they're much smaller. They look very nice. And everything is like this. Okay, so this was a very quick unboxing of Alpine DP-653. The DP stands for digital precision, if I didn't mention before, I don't remember. It's kind of a cheap set, however, it looks much better than comparing to the price that it costs. It looks extremely nice with that blue thing, and especially like, imagine this is designed, as I mentioned, for Asian markets. And you know what the Asians do, what they like to do, they put like LEDs all over the place and they like the speakers to look good, and these indeed look good. They look amazing, to be honest. The blue color, especially if you have like blue interior or blue car, they will look amazing. And imagine if they would start doing this with custom colors. If you could order a custom color that matches your interior or your car, that would be awesome. So Alpine, if you're listening, do something like that. I guarantee a lot of people would buy this set with different colors. So yeah, this is a quick unboxing. We will be doing all the measurements in a later upcoming videos. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.